peace and love. Welcome back to tunjitalks, the home of I Have a Thirst. What is I Have a Thirst? That is where, I get a drink and, I just chop up game with you guys, talk about, what's going on. So let's get started. So I was in the shop. I originally wanted to get a Magnum because, I just hear everyone talking about Magnums. But I came across... In fact, let me show you today's drink. So today's drink is a Milo in a can. And what's interesting about this drink is that it's a cocoa malt beverage. So, it's the best of both worlds. It's like a super malt and, Milo. I haven't had this before, so it should be good. So, as you know, here's the glass. Ooh, okay. 1 second. Oh, did you hear? Ooh, right. Smells nice. There we go. Oh, that looks wonderful. Okay. Right. So, if you haven't got yourself a drink, pause the video now. Okay, welcome back. Right. So, I hope you have a drink. Cheers. I'm not gonna lie. Don't like that. It tastes almost like chalky. Yeah, not a fan. I thought, because it was it's a mix of Milo and malt, I thought it would have more of a malty sort of taste. To be honest with you, I'll just stick for super malt. Yeah, not a fan. And it's not growing on me as I drink more, but yeah. Right, it's been a long time since I've done I Have a Thirst. So, earlier this year, Doctor Strange 2 came out, Multiverse of Madness. I really enjoy that film. I have friends who, absolutely hated it, but I thought it was a wonderful film, really enjoyed it. That was our first time seeing, some horror elements in the MCU. Then, of course, just before Halloween, Werewolf by Night came out, and that was a full-on sort of horror short. But yeah, so why am I talking about Doctor Strange? Because I did a review for that, and in that review I talked about the cinema experience, about waiting half an hour, and a prominent YouTuber commented on that video, and this YouTuber is called John Campier, and he is a movie YouTuber, and he's one of the reasons why I started doing YouTube. So before we go any further, let me show you John Campier in action.
We were talking a little bit earlier about Top Gun Maverick and all the wild success it has, from the unbelievable $1.4 billion at the box office to then cracking records on VOD and sales. And now it's going to be coming out on Paramount Plus. It's probably going to break all kind of Paramount Plus records for single day signups and stuff like that. Terrific. I told you guys 2 years ago, when I was at CinemaCon and they showed us the first 18 minutes of that movie. They showed us the first bit of the movie all the way up to after he crashes and he comes walking into the diner. They showed us all that, and I was stunned by how good it was. And you guys know I was buzzing about it ever since then. Then at this past CinemaCon, they showed us the full movie, and we came out and we told you guys this was incredible, except for Chris Carr. She was not so impressed with it, but that's fine. She was the only one, but all the rest of us absolutely loved it.
So John Campier is more than just a movie YouTuber. He is a podcaster, he's a blogger, he's a writer, and he's also a director. I also do a lot of those things as well. It was surreal. I was going to work, then a notification popped up. It was like, John Campier commented on your video. I could not believe it. Unreal. But yeah, so one of the reasons I started YouTubing is because there was a period of time where I was watching John Campier religiously, every day, because This program is sponsored by my book, Whiteboard, Black Pieces, Race in the West. What does it mean to be black in the Western world? To find out, click the Amazon link in the description down below. He has a daily show, and sometimes he does shows at the weekends, all about movies and whatnot. Then he does kind of like his spiel. Then for the second half of the show, he takes live questions from the audience. And I saw someone wrote a comment like, "Oh, John, you do YouTube and you do podcasts as well. Shout out to the tunjitalks podcast. If you can't watch the video version, check out the podcast." So this person's like, "Oh, how do you get started in this?" So John Campion was like, "I made a video a couple years ago called How to Get Started on YouTube and Blogging." So I went to that video, and he was really candid, open, and honest. He was like, "You know what? To start YouTube, to start doing podcasts, all you need to do is you need a camera and a microphone. So the camera doesn't need to be expensive. Honestly, all you need is a HD webcam." Then in the video, like, he showed us the webcam he got, and was like, "Look, just go on Amazon, get like a decent sort of webcam, starting from, they start from like what, £19, and they go up. So a decent webcam and decent mic. I've since upgraded my mic. If you go back to my earlier videos, I used like a sort of basic, just like microphone. Had a lot of issues with that, but I knew early on that this YouTube thing, this podcasting thing, wasn't just going to be a phase. I knew, I'll keep doing this. So that's one thing he mentioned in the video as well. The reason why he said, start off with a webcam or start off with a basic microphone, is that, you might do a couple of videos, and you might decide, "Oh, you know what, I don't really want to do this anymore." So if you find yourself in that position, then you won't feel as bad because you haven't spent like a considerable amount of money. So wise words of wisdom from John Campion there. I've also done a similar video where I have shown my setup of how I make my videos. So you can also check that out on the YouTube channel. So it was like a full circle moment when John Campion then, commented on my video. So you know what? It's just about hard work and consistency. And if I hadn't been consistent, there's no way that John would have commented on my video. But also shout out to YouTube, because they included a feature where you can tag someone. So I tagged him, and when I tagged John Campion, I didn't expect him to reply, but no, it was a pleasant surprise that it was a pleasant surprise that he actually replied. So you know what, it'll be cool. It'll actually be cool to like meet him one day. It'll actually be cool. But anyway, moving on. So over the summer, I told you it's been a while since I've done, and I have first. Yeah, still not improving. Whatever. So that drink, man. Okay, so over the summer I worked on this short film. It was really fun. Hasn't come out yet, but when it comes out, I'll let you guys know. So I was working on this short film. It was really cool. And there was this actor on the film. He's primarily a sort of stunt actor, as you. And I was talking to him like, "Oh yeah, how did you get into the industry and whatnot?" And he started off by pro wrestling, then got injured. Then he transitioned into acting, sort of like full time. He's got a phenomenal, fantastic story, in fact. So anyway, we were talking, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I did this superhero movie like a couple of weeks ago." I was like, "No way, who's it for?" He was like, "Oh, I can't tell you what house it was for." When I say house, I mean I'm talking about either Marvel or DC. Then I was like, "Oh, I bet you had to sign like a couple of NDAs." And it's like, "A couple?" I had to sign 8. I was like, "Oh my goodness." So when these actors sign on for, you know, Marvel movies or movies that they want to keep hush hush, you've got to sign NDAs. I also have a couple of friends who have, you know, even in the audition process, they've had to sign NDAs, and they get sent special emails or special links that, you know, you can't print screen the script and whatnot. So yeah, it's just crazy. Yeah, it's just crazy. So, but yeah, so it was really fascinating, kind of like listening to him, and because he's a stunt performer, he was telling me about the different types of martial arts he can do and the different types of weapons he can use on screen. His work rate is just insane. So, yeah, so that, again, you know, one of the reasons why I like, you know, going on set and whatnot is, like, when you talk to people, everyone has a different journey, different route into the industry. Everyone doesn't have to go to drama school. If you talk to some people, you know, if you go deeper, there are like pros and cons to everything, but that's not the point. But yeah, it was really good working on set with him that day. So it was really good working on set with him, and he had some phenomenal stories to tell. And I had a great time working with the director, Alice. So good, that was a really good day. To support the show, there are 2 ways you can go about that: PayPal and Cash App. Cash App, #TunjiTalks, that's #TunjiTalks, that's #TunjiTalks, or PayPal, paypal.me/TunjiTalks, that's paypal.me/TunjiTalks, that's paypal.me/TunjiTalks. So, you may have heard of an individual called Gary V. So who is Gary V? So I'm going to tell you about Gary V. So Gary V, he is an entrepreneur, he is an author, he's a speaker, and he is an internet personality. And some of you might be scratching your head, you might be thinking, Gary who? I still don't know who he is. So you know what? I've got a clip here for you, so let's watch.
I don't have time for my side hustle, my Twitch channel, my Instagram account, my Shopify store selling hoodies, and I keep getting to this new place, which is, talk to me about your bills. Like, why'd you buy an apartment that stretches you? Why is your car so fancy? Like, why do you need the new Gucci every time? Like, why are you going out Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night? Like, why are you going to Coachella? Like, why are you going to Avengers opening night and buying the biggest piece of popcorn and candy? Like, the answer to all of your questions is not how much money you make or how much time you have, it's what you're spending your money on. I'm tired of talking about people having the ability to tune out the negative. I'm done telling you to not worry about haters and trolls and negative opinions. I'm actually flipping the fucking script on you, and I'm gonna yell at, and I'm gonna push at, and I'm gonna try to inspire or communicate a perspective for you to stop hearing the cheering. The reason so many struggle with negativity is because they overvalue positive reinforcement. You're addicted to people telling you you're pretty. You're addicted to people telling you you're good at basketball. You're addicted to parents and teachers telling you you're a good student. You're addicted to opinions. Once you learn how to not overvalue somebody who's commending or complimenting you, is the second you go down the path of dealing with the reverse. In 2011 is a long time ago for a lot of people. That year, I decided to go on Twitter search, and anybody that talked about wine, I jumped in and talked to them. How did I get here? Hand-to-hand combat. Give me your phone. Let me show you something. So you go to Columbia, Maryland, you go to places, right? So I'm in internet search, right? So this is gonna work for all of you if you wanna build. So you just go to Columbia, Maryland, and right now it's gonna show you all the top photos and all the recent photos. What I did, but on Twitter, with the word Pinot Noir, is I literally, and look, Instagram's a little bit of a different, like the first photo is like a dude who's like looking real fucking diesel and shit. And so like, I mean, you could, like, and this, I'm not joking, I would literally go in here and be like, swole.
Right,
Post.
right.
I did it.
He's like, I didn't want to say that.
But this is, look, there's a couple good things going for you. One, your name is Real It or Brian. Like the fact, this is how I think, right? I was gonna ask you about that too. Right? I think, it is good. And again, look, Like, what's gonna be unpopular? Attractive people. So as a guy, it's a pretty girl, you don't wanna come across you gotta be thoughtful. You don't have to go to every post, but you go to these posts, right? And like, this is happening these posts are happening in this town, right? Like, for example, here's something about, she went to Wegmans, right? Literally, you're like, love that. And I'm doing it right for you right now because I don't think people get it, love that place, right? So I want you to become the mayor of the town. I did what I just showed you for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours a day on Twitter. If I was nobody, which is 99% of people now, I don't have 1 million followers. I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to build my dreams and aspirations. I'm literally doing what I just showed you for 10 hours a day.
So after watching this clip, I'm sure now some of you are familiar with Gary Vee. You can't miss him on the internet. Like his words of wisdom are profound. A couple of weeks ago, I was just scrolling through Instagram, and I found one of Gary Vee's videos, and I was watching it, and it really hit home. So I left a comment, and he pinned one of my comments to his Instagram. So that, again, because I've been watching Gary Vee for a number of years, I couldn't believe that he pinned one of my comments to his videos. So that was again another surreal sort of like full circle moment. And in the video, he was talking about people usually come up to him and they're like, oh, Gary Vee, you've been on this show and that show and this podcast and that podcast. Like, how do you do it? So he was like, I do it by constantly putting out content. And you know what? Some of my videos, they may go viral. They may get hundreds of thousands or millions of views, but I still do get videos that get 10 views, 75 views, 50 views. And he was saying it's in those videos that get the 50, the 10, the 75 views. The people watch that video, you don't know who they are. So one of the 10 people could be a producer on that show you want to be on, could be the host of that podcast you want to go on. You don't know when your content will resonate with someone. You can never predict when someone will reach out to you. So it's all about consistency. Same thing as I mentioned earlier for John Campier. You've just got to be consistent, because in this YouTube space, I know a lot of people who have started YouTubing and podcasting and whatnot, and within less than 6 months, maybe 8, 9, they stop because they go in thinking, oh, I'm gonna go viral in the next sort of like 2 weeks, but you haven't built up an audience. Like I've mentioned earlier, like I've got a worldwide audience. That's not to brag. I've done the breakdown of my podcast. I've done the breakdown of my YouTube channel. And when I started doing this, I just knew that, I knew that there would be people who would resonate with what I have to say. And you know what? That's true, because I see it in the global demographic of who listens and watches this podcast. So consistency, people. Consistency is the key. If there's one thing to take away from this video, this video podcast, it is consistency. So let's talk about lunch for a minute. So it's like, as I drink more of this drink, it's getting even chalkier. Okay, right. Lunch, right, that's it. So I've become one of the gym bros in that, hear me out, in that I prep my lunch for the week. So on the weekend, I'll do a bulk cook, then I'll put it into containers. Then I find that during the week, I have my lunch is set, and when I come home, I'm not having to worry about what I'm having for lunch the next day because I did that at the weekend. So I'm an advocate for bulk cooking at the weekend, so you don't have to worry about lunch during the week. And in the long run, that saves me time. Advocate for bulk cooking. The gym bros have got that down. It works, so if you haven't tried it, try it and then let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I really want to hear from people who try the bulk cook. A couple of weeks ago, I released a video of Dana White talking at a press conference. And he was saying, you know what? I am focused on doing UFC Africa. That was the second video I had done on that issue. Then in this video, he revealed the country that he's thinking of. In the previous video, I whittled it down to 3 countries. Oh, they're either going to go to Nigeria, Ghana, or South Africa. And in case you missed the video, I'm going to play it for you now.
Let's do what?
Do all 50 states.
Do all 50 states? No, I never thought of that, but I'm like so focused on Africa right now. I want to do Africa so bad. That's sort of my focus. Plus, it's pretty badass.
Couple questions for you, Dana. First, the UFC Africa that you just talked about, where in that continent do you see this happening, given that the lack of large indoor arenas?
No, it's
anywhere?
a great question. It's a great question. But Nigeria is what we're thinking.
Building something, or perhaps an outdoor venue,
Yeah,
like at a soccer stadium.
Yeah, both. I don't know which one yet, but yeah. Listen, at the end of the day, we're pretty crafty. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Dana back here.
Yeah.
Let me take you back to UFC Africa. I'm from Nigeria. There are no facilities that would be able to house the UFC. Have you considered a Rwanda, for example? They have a Kigali arena. The NBA has played there with their Basketball Without Borders multiple times. Just a thought.
Yeah, thank you.
Dana, just going back to UFC Africa, I'm curious, how big do you think that event could be? Is that somewhere you're going to have to kind of educate the people and introduce mixed martial arts to them?
It's not even about how big I think it will be. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be like when we go over I just want to do it.
Is this because you see stuff like Rumble in the Jungle and it's like, for
100%.
you as a promoter?
100%. And we have African champions, and I'm going to build a PI over there. So, yeah, it's just something that I personally want to do.
Do you have a time frame on it? Could it be as early as the first half of next year, for example?
I don't know. It's like, this gentleman over here just educated me on.
Yeah.
I don't know enough yet. What we'll do is we'll send a team over there, and they'll go kick around the country for a little bit and see what we can do.
I don't want to say I told you so, but how did I know he was going to go to Nigeria? Anyways, so what was fascinating about that video is he revealed a couple of things. So, for example, I didn't expect him to say, Dana White, to say that he was thinking of building a performance institute. So what is a performance institute? So a performance institute is effectively like a training center. So it's where contracted UFC fighters can go to train. It's where they can get sort of like their therapies, physiotherapy, can go to the sauna, all that sort of stuff. There's a gym there for them to do sort of like strength and conditioning work. There's offices there for UFC fighters to have meetings with UFC officials. I'm sure they'll be able to do media, so the media days as well. Additionally, if Dana White is thinking about building a PI Performance Institute, I'm sure he's going to build an Apex as well. What is an Apex? So an Apex is a small arena that's dedicated to hosting UFC events. So in 2019, the UFC built the first Apex. It became a blessing in disguise in 2020 when the lockdowns happened, because when all the major arenas were shut to host events at the Apex in Las Vegas. So to me, it makes sense that the UFC will make a dedicated space they can use in case of an emergency, or it's just there to be used effectively, and they could even rent it out, another stream income. Also, in that clip, Dana White mentioned that in the coming new year that he's going to send like a team of people to Africa, most likely Nigeria, even though there's talk of other countries they might visit. But it makes sense for them to go to Nigeria. Why? Because I've done a video on this, but earlier this year, Kamaru Usman started an MMA organization in Nigeria. So if Dana White is going to send a group of people to Nigeria, to me it makes sense that Dana White's people will meet with Kamaru Usman's people who are based in Nigeria, and together, they'll be able to go to sporting governing bodies in Nigeria. They'll be able to go to various governors in Nigeria to work out a place for them to host a UFC event, and a place for them to build a performance institute, and a place for them to potentially build a UFC Apex. And for me, this shows great foresight from Kamaru Usman. Why? Because as soon as Kamaru Usman, Israel Adesanya, and Francis Ngannou became UFC champions, there was talk by everyone like, oh, Dana, we've got 3 African champions. When are you going to have a UFC event in Africa to showcase the talent of these individuals? And I guess from then, Kamaru Usman was thinking, I might need to get something started. And I'm sure, if there's a deal to be done in Nigeria, I'm sure Kamaru Usman is going to see... I'm sure Kamaru Usman is going to get some equity in that deal, especially if Dana White's people, UFC, are working with Kamaru Usman's people. He's going to get some equity in that deal for sure. And again, that's great foresight on Kamaru Usman's part. What am I going to do once my career in the UFC is done? Since we're on the issue of the UFC, let's talk about videos. So if, for instance, on YouTube, if you have a favorite video, you need to do more than just like bookmark that video, because if that video gets taken down, then you're then in the pickle because you can't watch your favorite video. So I encourage you to save videos you like on YouTube. So I'll tell you an anecdote. So a couple of years ago, we're gonna have John Jones versus Daniel Cormier 3. And of course, the UFC released like a promo video, and it was amazing. It really played up to John Jones being the antagonist, and it really played up to John Jones being the antagonist and Daniel Cormier being the protagonist. And it was such a wonderful video. The way it was shot, the cinematography, great. Then I sent it to my friend because we made some movies together. I was like, bro, you need to look at this video. Like, look at the cinematography in this video. And he shot me back a message and was like, bro, the video's not up. I was like, what are you talking about? I literally just watched the video. Then it said, the video has been pulled down. I was thinking, why has it been pulled down? Then like a couple of minutes later, the news broke that, John Jones tested positive for some stuff, so the fight was called off. And I was like, oh man. Then after the fact, I was like, I wish I had saved that video, because it was so good that if I was teaching media, for example, at either A level or university, I would show it to students, because the way they played up the protagonist and antagonist in that video, and the way they used lighting and scenery, so good. So yeah, that's why you should save your favorite YouTube videos. You need to do more than just bookmark those videos, because you'll be in a pickle when you want to watch them. Let me take another sip. By the way, how's your drink? Leave a comment down below. So 3 weeks ago, I was on set of a music video. I was working with this rapper called AJ. Shout out to AJ. He's good. He's really good. He's really good. Really good. But anyway, so I was on set with him. Then we're going from location to location. So we're walking. I was like, so AJ, how do you find the writing process? Because he knew that I do a bit of writing as well. So I was like, how do you find the writing process? And he was like, yeah, it's good, but there are times when I encounter blocks. Most people call that writer's block. So at times when I encounter blocks, so one of the things I do to help me overcome the blocks I face is by I just go to the dictionary and I just read the dictionary. Then I work with different rhyme schemes. I was like, wow. So I've heard stories that I think is it either Eminem or Kendrick Lamar. I've heard stories that they have read like the dictionary from back to front, just like looking for words to expand their vocabulary. So I thought that was fascinating, and the fact that AJ plays around with different rhyme schemes shows me his dedication to his craft, which is he's a rapper. So it just shows me the dedication to his craft. So additionally, some people may be thinking, oh, so you're in the dictionary. But to me, look, so let me use this analogy. Messi and Ronaldo are arguably the greatest footballers ever. We know they're good at football. However, but guess what? Messi and Ronaldo, they train every day. Why? Because there's always something to improve on. There's always something to get better at. The moment you say to yourself, the moment you say to the world that I'm the finished article, then you stop learning. You'll start to plateau, and eventually you'll most likely decline. So I commend AJ for identifying ways that he can improve his craft in order to get better. And I think everyone in all areas of our life, there are things we can identify that we need to improve on. Final topic. So a couple of weeks ago, I released a song called Croydon Town. And it was fun going to the studio and recording that song and getting to flex a different muscle creatively. Because songwriting, there's a particular way of writing a song, so getting familiar with the structure of a song and just sort of expressing yourself through that structure. It was really fun to do that. Croydon Town, really love making Croydon Town. I've just recorded another song that should hopefully come out soon, within a couple of weeks. So I can't wait for you to hear the new song. But to close this episode, I will play Croydon Town. So it has been a great episode of I Have a First. Cheers. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe and leave a comment down below. And remember, family, it is winning season forever and always. So here it is, Croydon Town. Croydon Town is a place to be. Don't believe everything you read. It truly is a great place to be. Family and friends are everything you need. Croydon Town, what have you done to me? You have me singing so merrily. But trust me, but trust me, but trust me, it can go down. It's going down, 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 down in Croydon Town. Town, 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 it's going down, 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 down in Croydon Town. Town, 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 the people, all the food, all the football. It's going down.